Hi guys, I'm just going to explain really quickly something else you're going to see in your assignment for this week, and it's talking about distributive property and the undoing part of it. So when you're doing distributive property, it's really multiplication, and you're talking about the M in PEMDAS. When you undo it or decide like what should it look like in factored form, you're going to use division because multiply and divide are related. And that's when we start to use SADMAP. In your first assignment, you guys looked at PEMDAS, and then SADMAP was the second part. It really wasn't talked about in the assignment except for creating that slide that talks about SADMAP, and this is when we start using it. SADMAP's really for solving an equation. So why this works is when I distribute this 5 into the parentheses, it's going to multiply to the 2 and the negative t. So 5 times 2 is 10. And then 5 times t is 5t. Put the negative sign in between because this doesn't have anything on it. It means I don't have to change this. If I wanted to check my work in some way, I have to undo this. So when I undo this, I look at the 10 and the 5, and I say, what do they have in common? Well, they can both be divided by 5. There's that division part. So the 5 is my greatest common factor, or GCF. And then what I put in here is the leftover answer when I divide each of these terms by 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 5t divided by 5, I'm just really going to cross out that 5, and I get t. And then we call that the leftovers. So if I'm looking to undo something I have multiplied out, 6x minus 2, 6 and 2 both have a 2 as a factor. The x doesn't exist in each term, so I'm just going to leave it there. So I'm going to divide a greatest common factor 2 out, and then I put a parentheses there because remember, distributive property tells you to multiply. These parentheses tell me I'm going to multiply 2 throughout whatever these leftovers are. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And the x is just going to hang out there because I can't get rid of it. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I'm going to put a negative 1 on here. And I can quickly check. 2 times 3x is 6x. And 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Sometimes the greatest common factor isn't a number. It could be a variable, like in this case, 7m and 6m. Now, I'm not asking to combine these in any way. I just want to say, hey, what do they have in common? So I can see they have an m in common. And when I divide that m off, I'm left with 7, and cross it out, 6. Now, if I were to normally do this, I'd probably combine what's in the parentheses, but for this purpose, that's what it's really looking to say, is that I just divided that m out. So sometimes there's a combination. If I look at this expression, 2x plus 8xy minus 10xz, first the coefficients, or the numbers, can all be divided by 2 because they're even. And as I look at each term, there's an x in common as well. So I'm going to divide a 2 off from each of the coefficients, and an x is going to divide off as well. Cross it out is really what you're going to do. So if I cross out the x here and divide 2 by 2, I have to have something left over, and it's 1. Because remember, when I'm dividing, I have to have a number there, not just a blank or a 0. 2 divides into 8 4 times. And then I cross out that x that's in common, and I'm left with a y. And then negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. Or I just have to copy this down because there's no negative in here. Crossing out that x leaves me with a z. And again, the reason I want that 1 here is because now if I want to check my work, if I didn't have a 1 here, it would be 2x times jumping to 4y, it would be 2 times 4 is 8, xy, there's that. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, x times z is xz, but notice I don't have that 2x, so that 1 has to be there because I want to distribute that 2x to the 1 as well, or 2x plus 8xy minus 10xz. And hopefully that helps with your assignment.